Welcome to Original Being, where we explore the timeless wisdom of ancient practices and old ways of living. From holistic health and wellness to survival techniques, homesteading, and primitive skills. I'm Jillian Erice, a functional and holistic-minded physician associate and a homesteading mother of 3. I am on a quest to reconnect with the knowledge our ancestors lived by, practical skills, natural healing, and self-sufficiency in a modern world. Each episode, I'll be sharing insights, experiences, and conversations with experts and everyday people who embody this mindset. Together, we'll challenge modern conveniences, embrace hands-on learning, and rediscover the practices that have stood the test of time. Disclaimer, the information shared on this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. My opinions and those of my guests are solely our own and are not affiliated with any institutions, employers, or certifications. This podcast does not provide medical advice, and any health-related decisions should be made in consultation with your personal healthcare provider. By listening, you acknowledge that you take full responsibility for your own choices and actions.
Today on Original Being, we have Maine native Christi Elliott. Christi is a registered Maine guide, outdoor writer, and Appalachian Trail thru-hiker. She is the founder of Maine Women Hunters, a thriving community that has grown to over 7,500 members across the state, providing connection and support for women passionate about hunting and the outdoors. When she is not working her day job as a design engineer, she takes every opportunity to get outside and hunt and fish. Christi has also recently written a memoir drawing from her experiences in the woods and on the trail, which is set to be released in December. Hi, Christi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So I want to know how you got started in this, because you and I have talked a little bit, outside of this interview in the past, and I had heard that you didn't necessarily grow up with like a dad teaching you how to hunt and fish or somebody in your family. So as a woman who is also really trying to get into this, I'm super curious how you got, into this path.
It's funny, my mom and I were just talking about this. I grew up in Machias, and it's pretty small. It's like the biggest town around, but it's only 2,000 people. And she was like, Christi, I don't really remember, people have asked me, when did you start hunting? And she couldn't remember. And I was describing it to her, and I was like, well, in Machias, I wouldn't have come home and been like, oh my gosh, guess what? I went hunting today. It kind of fell under the definition of hanging out, So it was, I feel like there wasn't like a moment. It was just, if we were hanging out in the fall, then somebody was hunting. Somebody had a bird in the back of their pickup, kind of.
So like all your friends were?
Yeah. All my classmates growing up, they'd miss school in November to shoot a deer, feed their families. So it was very much just part of the culture. And I remember going to my best friend Whitney's house, and I don't know how old I was, 11, 12. And I remember she taught me to shave my legs. And it was like, it felt like a big rite of passage. And then later that afternoon, her dad took us out on like his back deck, and we shot his 30-06 for the first time at like beer cans. So this was like a typical day of growing up in Down East Maine.
Yeah.
You learn to shave your legs, and then your friend's dad has you shooting at beer cans or soda cans,
That's amazing. So when you were young, were you already like, oh, I really love this, I want to get out there? Was there a moment that really sparked that for you?
I think all people are drawn to wildlife, viewing wildlife, learning about wildlife. I don't think there was a real moment. I played sports growing up, went off to college. So it was really after college where, there was this movement. It was 2010. There was really this awareness about food and where your food comes from. And I had, some extra real income at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm ready to pursue this seriously. I want to provide my own food, and hunting, you get to spend time outside and provide your own food.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to own a bunch of land. You're not raising pigs or gardening. So it just seemed like a natural fit for me.
So after college, where did you start? Like, did you start with deer hunting? Like, did you just like get a rifle and be like, okay, I'm going to start down this path, or what was the process?
Pretty much. I mean, I started bird hunting because
Okay.
October comes before November. And so that was like the first thing I shot. And then, I thought deer hunting, just based on growing up with all my classmates who just shot deer every year, I thought it would be a lot easier than it is.
Yeah.
And it's not.
That's for sure. And so then when did you start the group?
Started the group, I think, in 2019 ish.
Okay.
And I kind of, the group Maine Women Hunters, I thought it would just be a great place to share stories, post photos, ask questions, sell your old hunting gear or something. But it really has grown into much more.
Yeah, that group is amazing. I think that this is part of what I really want to talk to you about too, is that as a woman who doesn't have necessarily like, and I hate to just say like, oh, a man has to teach you. Of course, your mother could teach you. But I think for most people who grew up hunting, it was like a father or husband or some, there was usually somebody like that they had that was a seasoned hunter that would take them out if they were interested. And I found that there's so many more women lately that don't have that but want to learn. And this group is just an incredible resource for that, because that wasn't really there before, that you could learn from other women. Have you found that as well?
Yeah, definitely. Women are still deciding what's for dinner at night in the household. So, we want to get out there and do it. We want to have a hand in it. And if you don't have a father or an uncle or someone to learn from, learning to hunt is very intimidating. It's overwhelming, more so than fishing or fly fishing. You're handling a firearm. There's a ton of laws, lots of nuances. You're taking the life of an animal. It's serious. It's hard. And then after, if you're successful, well, it's not. It doesn't end there. Now you have to
Mm.
get it out of the woods. There's just a lot to it.
So when did you get your first deer? Was that like when you were a child, or this was now when you started hunting after college?
It was when I was hunting after college,
Okay. Do you want to
and
tell
I
us the
wounded
story of
it.
that?
I wounded it, and it
Oh
was
no.
it was very emotional. It's like, um, I was just like in my head, like the reason I got into hunting was for less suffering of animals, and here I am causing the suffering of this deer. But
Mm.
I called a tracking dog, and they came out and found it in 10 minutes. So it ended. It was a happy ending, but very stressful.
Hmm. And you were saying that too, like you didn't realize how hard deer hunting is. Like I haven't gotten a deer yet, and this is only my third year, but this year will be my first year putting like all my hours in, having my own rifle, like really, really trying by myself, not just people taking me out or like, sort of like dipping my toes in the water. And I think a lot of non-hunters don't realize that either. Like they kind of think that people are just out there shooting everything they see. They just want to kill things. Like that is just so not what it's like. And the amount of time that you have to put in the wild, just in the forest by yourself, like sitting quietly, being so patient, it's a lot. And I just find that non-hunters just have no concept of that whatsoever, or that how much you have to love being in nature to do this.
Yeah, it's really hard in Maine. You can't see very far. So,
Hmm.
our thick woods, they really have to be close to you. And, everything's trying to kill them. So we're used to it. But yeah, I think as hunters, that can be part of our messaging when we do post a photo. Give us a little backstory. Tell those non-hunters that, you didn't just go out back and shoot one and you're so happy about
Hmm.
it. There's a lot of other emotions.
Yeah, absolutely. I know some other people have said to me, like, the minute that you stop feeling sad is the minute you've like lost that humanity. Like like there's always going to be a sadness, even though like you'll see like the trophy pictures, because of course it's when you finally have gotten that deer, it's like you want to be like, this is amazing, I finally got one. But that doesn't show the whole process that you went through prior to that photo of like, of the sadness and of that, like, the kill that you have to experience, right?
Exactly. And I think as women get more into it, like we are bringing a new side of the story, a new perspective, a new voice. Not to say that men don't have those feelings, but they're not as willing to discuss them, probably.
That's a really good point. I found that only a couple bad eggs sort of like ruin the whole thing for everybody. Like someone might know someone that sort of talked about killing animals in a disrespectful way or isn't ethically hunting. And then they just kind of blanket that onto everybody and think hunting is this horrible industry. But there's so much more to it. And I found that most people are, number one, are eating what they're hunting. Like that's the primary reason. They're not just killing to kill these animals and they're not eating the food. They're feeding their families with it, but that they are respectful, they are caring. A lot of hunters love animals. Do you think that too?
Definitely, yeah. Hunters are not poachers. Like, so when people see poachers, they think hunters, but that's definitely not the case. And
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, they care about them. So let's go back to you saying, you started caring about where your food was coming from. So a lot of women I've met recently who are interested in starting to hunt and hadn't really done it before, they were actually vegetarians when they were younger, which I was too. And it's such a funny thing that like a lot of us have gone this like full change because it's people caring about animals, caring about where their food's coming from, caring about their own nutrition. And then when you start to look at it and say, well, I can raise my own food, right? So there's homesteading and there's raising your own meat. But to harvest an animal that lived its own free life, eating exactly what it was meant to eat, and hopefully, harvesting it ethically and getting a very like a good shot and it's as quick and I don't want to say painless, but as quick and as it can be, is actually the most ethical way to eat meat. And so that's been a huge theme in what I've seen among new hunters coming into this and why they want to start hunting. But also there's a conservation piece to hunting that a lot of people are missing. And I'd love for you to kind of touch on that. And hunting and fishing, I should say. Like, what's the conservation piece here and what are hunters doing to help with that?
yeah. Hunters and anglers, every time you buy equipment or your licenses, that money goes back into the conservation of those species and other species too. So, and it's built into the cost of the gear. So if you buy a new boat, if you buy, I mean, you even have recreational shooters buying handguns, even they are paying a tax that's built in to help these species. So you've really got a lot of skin in the game for hunters and anglers and giving back to conservation. And not only white-tailed deer and turkeys, but that money's being used for butterflies and turtles for, non-game species as well. And, because we're consumptive users, we take the brunt of that. But there are arguments of like, should there be a tax on backpacks, hiking shoes? These are kind of new conversations, especially as the number of people who hunt is declining. So you are losing some of those fundings for those animals. So, it's kind of like a fun thing to think about is like, well, who should have a seat at the table? Because if we ask hikers to start paying, well, now they get a seat at the table. And, do we like
Mm.
that or not?
Mm.
It's interesting to kind of think about.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm sure some people don't even realize that. Like, never mind your hunting license. If you want to get a doe, you're putting in for a doe permit. You're paying for that. You're paying for extra if you want to get certain birds. Like, there's all these extra fees. Of course, Maine has that lifetime hunting license too, but that's also very expensive at the get-go. So all of that money, though, is going towards these amazing conservation efforts. So it really is a great thing to support. Even if like every year I'm like, I'm paying this and I didn't get a deer, but it doesn't matter because it went to a good cause.
Yes, exactly. And, we can't all be hunters. That's not sustainable. The entire country can't be hunters. So, that's not really the goal here. I think our goal needs to be that hunting is seen positively and it's supported by those who want to do it.
Yeah. And that there's education, like really good education for people, which I think Maine is amazing at. I don't know about other states, but there's a lot of great classes and weekend courses I see all the time pop up, which is really awesome.
Yeah. And they're doing, they have like a next step program. So it's not just hunter safety and then out the door. They're teaching you how to process a deer, butcher a deer, those types of things.
Mhm. So if someone, like, say someone wants to get started hunting and have no experience, what would you say is like the first step for them?
I would say maybe think about pick a species you want to hunt first, and really to hire a guide. I mean,
Yeah.
hiring a guide, I know it's expensive. It might be 300, $400, $500 for a day. But you're going to learn so much from that expert. You're going to see what gear they have. You're going to see what strategy. Um, and and I mean, it can save you money. Like, oh, I actually don't need to buy that stuff. Or like, here's what I'm using. I think it's invaluable. Just do it one time. It's an investment. Um, because the courses are great, but you're not actually out there hunting.
Mhm.
And then I would just say, just get out there and do it. I think turkey hunting is a great place to start. All you need is camo and one hen decoy. And in Maine, you're allowed to use an electronic call. So you could just play it off your phone, and just sit there on the edge of the woods and just see what happens. You'll probably hear gobbles. It's not too cold. So I think turkey hunting is a great place to start for people. It's like encouraging.
Yeah.
Also, getting game cameras is really fun. So you may not see a deer, but they're there. And it's fun to see, raccoons or skunks, like whatever is on the game camera is really fun. And it's encouraging. So you may not be seeing deer, but you're like, wow, they were there 30 minutes after I left, like it gives you hope.
Yeah, definitely. I see so many deer on my trail cam. I'm like, where were you in November?
They know. They know.
They know. They disappear.
Yeah.
And there's so many turkeys. Turkeys are so great to start because there's just so many. Actually, like I have heard that are they invasive? They're like an invasive species here.
They were reintroduced here,
They were
but
reintroduced?
I don't
Okay.
think they're invasive, no.
But like we need to manage their populations, right?
I mean, there's plenty of turkeys, yes, but there's also plenty of species. Like most species, we don't manage their population, right?
Hmm.
Like porcupines, skunks, like lots of species, we're not managing their population.
Yeah.
So who knows what would happen if
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
stopped hunting turkeys?
Right. Like maybe there'd just be more coyotes because they would be
Right.
feeding on them more. I don't know.
Yeah, or maybe
Yeah.
there'd be more avian flu. Like it's kind of a, you know,
Yeah.
biologist question, like what
Y-
might happen, in
Yeah.
New Jersey when they stopped hunting black bears, you know, they became a nuisance and got out of hand.
Hmm.
And
I know there's a, yeah, go
I
ahead.
think it's better to have hunt people paying to kill them than hiring your state agency to go out and nuisance kill them.
Yeah, that's terrible. Because, yeah, people are, especially bears, people are using so much. Like you can get the bear fat and the amazing fur, and the meat can last you so long. So that's much better than just killing them for no reason. Something I also have seen as a common theme is a lot of people think they want to start with archery. And I think that just is like a fear of firearms a little bit too. And I have to admit, I felt that way first too. I'm like, oh, maybe I'll just learn archery and whatever. But I've started to see, and as I research more and learn more, especially from the group, that a lot of people are like, archery is not really the best to start with. Can you talk about that? And do you do any archery yourself?
I have a bow. I've shot a turkey with my bow. It's really fun to shoot your bow and it's fun to practice and you can do it, if you have neighbors close by. So I think that has a lot going for it. But I just think it's way harder to be successful with the bow. You know, the animal's got to be so much closer, higher chance of wounding them, you know, which is not the goal. I do think there's something we said if you live near expanded zones here in Maine, and you know, archery season in Maine at least is in October, so the deer are a little more patterned. So I mean, there's pros and cons, but I find personally where I hunt, it's just hard to get them that close to be successful.
Yeah.
Deer, at least.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was seeing too, is people were saying, you know, you are so much more likely to wound them and not get this like really instant, you know, ethical kill. And for especially a new hunter, that's going to be really unfortunate way to start out. So yeah, I think that like a lot of people think it sounds good, but then at the end of the day, they might be better off starting with a firearm instead.
And I think people watch YouTube videos of
Yeah.
like hunts out west where like you do a grunt call and deer just run over to you know, and that's just not the case in Maine. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
we can't use bait. We can't bait deer. So, you know, I think to start, I would personally, I wouldn't recommend a bow to someone who's just getting into it.
Yeah. I would like to learn that someday. And then of course you get an expanded season with the bow hunting too, but I've definitely gotta get one with a rifle first.
You know, I feel like there's so much to hunting. It's kind of good and bad. You know, in Maine, we're lucky with our 4 seasons. I feel like just as I'm getting a little bit tired of ice fishing, oh, now ice is out and we can go trolling, or it's turkey season. And then turkey's over and then it's mushroom season, and you know, it's always a different season. Our seasons aren't like super long, so it's not enough that you're getting bored in them or too monotonous. It's always like something new and exciting.
Yeah. And it keeps you in touch with the seasons. And then, like you said, like maybe I started foraging. So like that was more like I kind of like branched from foraging into hunting. But some people go the other way, right? Like they might not have been interested in mushrooms, but now they're out in the woods seeing them all the time. And then they start to want to identify them. And now you've got another food source that you can add to your repertoire. And I just think that there's so much food around us. And like just want to be able to live off this land, and if I don't know how to hunt, I can't really do that. You know, like it's just another piece to the puzzle.
Yeah, I like to say it's obviously not free to go hunting. You pay a lot of money and gear and licenses, but it's not a pay to play hobby like golf or skiing. You know, it's like hiking alone. You don't see, you know, huge crowds of people. It's like taking your gun for a walk in the woods, and you know, it's awesome. Like, you know, I like the idea that I don't have to pay every time I want to go. I can just go out there every day as long as I want.
Yeah.
And then I get to skip the meat section at the grocery store.
Yeah.
I save a lot of money.
Exactly. And so tell me a little bit more about deer hunting. Like, what are some of the like tips or tricks that you think have helped you be the most successful? Like, is it you prefer a deer stand over a blind? Are you using the doe urine? Are you calling? Like, what are your best tips?
I hunt, even though I grew up in Machias, I live in southern Maine now. So there's a lot of houses. It's much more developed, but deer like that, right? So there's a lot of deer down here. I find I have the most success from a tree stand. I like being able to see far. I get to watch turkeys, so it kind of keeps me entertained. I find I see more deer if I'm walking around, but I don't have shots at them, good shots at them usually. So I find even though I see fewer deer from a tree stand because I'm staying still, if I see one, like I have a shot at it and can take my time. They don't know I'm up there. I don't do lures. I kind of it's just where you're set up, you know, pitch points, funnels, and then just putting in your time. I find my spot, you know, is more active in the evenings. So instead of taking like a week off to hunt, I try to leave work early, 2 hours every day. So I can hunt every day
Hmm.
in the prime time. It's like that 80-20 principle. Um, so I'm there every afternoon, the last 2 hours of the day, I'm in that stand, and there's gonna be a deer if you're in a good spot. So that's the other thing, is getting permission.
Hmm.
And I didn't grow up down here, so it's a lot harder when I go home to Machias, pretty much nothing's posted. I know people. It's much more undeveloped. But around here, I tell people it only takes one good spot. Try to get permission. Try to get one good spot. That's all it takes. And then it's
Yeah.
just time. You kill them with your ass. Like,
Yeah.
just sit there. And I'll try calling. I've called in small deer before, especially in October. But yeah, I don't know. I think if you're calling, then they're looking. They're very like alert and looking
Mm.
around. Whereas if you're not calling, they're just more laid back,
More
going about their
oblivious.
business.
Yeah.
So, but who knows? I mean,
Yeah. And do you do the doe urine, or is that no?
I haven't been doing it.
No.
I've tried it in the past. I don't know.
Last year, I like coated all my hunting gear in it. And my husband was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, I smelled so awful. But I was
But
like, I don't
any of
know.
those things, like, scent, being mindful of your scent, being mindful of wind direction, if all those little things help by 2%, well, if you do 5 of them, you're helping yourself by 10%. And if there's no downside, why not?
Mhm. So the land you were talking about too, that was something I was going to ask you as well. If you don't have access, well, there's a difference between there's public lands that you can hunt on, right? But then a
Yeah.
lot of people are hunting on private land. So how does someone who doesn't have their own access find places to hunt?
I mean, Maine is like mostly private land, like 92%, or something. But there are public lands. But then they have different rules about game cameras, or you can't put up a ladder stand all season, but you can use like a saddle or a self climber. Um, so I mean, definitely, find those public lands. Rachel Carson in Scarborough. They're out there. But I find just asking people, and it goes back to the turkey hunting. I think people are more likely to give you turkey hunting permission.
Hmm.
So you can, scout your area on X. For me, it needs to be close to my work, or my house, so I can try
Yeah.
to go before and after work. But um, find the larger landowners, because that's more worth your while, and ask them for turkey permission. Build that relationship with them, and then you can, see how they feel about deer hunting. But,
Hmm.
a complete stranger, they're much more likely to give you turkey hunting permission than deer hunting permission, is
Hmm.
what I've found. Or
Yeah.
squirrel. Ask for squirrel hunting permission.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good tip. And I think like a lot of people who've moved up to Maine from other places that hunting isn't as prevalent, like Massachusetts, obviously is the best example. Um, they're not used to people coming on their land because that's less likely to happen. Like in Massachusetts, there's such a different mindset of like, you don't walk on people's land. It's just like private property. Everyone's got like their very set little boundaries and they don't have as much land. So they come up here and they post their land of this like fear of people coming on their land. And also just a lack of knowledge of hunting and how it works, and thinking like there's going to be a chance that they're like randomly going to get shot in their yard, which are like very bizarre and isolated instances that we hear about on the news because they were really bizarre instances. And so then they post it. And so that's what we're seeing is like more and more land being bought by people from out of state getting posted. What would you say when people like come to you with that, oh, like there was a lady one time with white mittens who got shot by a hunter, and that's like their reasoning for posting their land? Like, I know it's ridiculous, but I swear people tell me this story all the time.
Yeah, I mean, people can do what they want with their land, but, I would tell people you can post access by permission only. That way
Mhm.
you know who's on your land. And then, create a relationship with your hunter. They're keeping an eye on your property for you. They're telling you of anything weird or they're picking up trash, but at the end of the day, it is their land. So, but we need to be respectful to keep the unposted land open.
Mhm.
And I think Maine IFNW is doing a great job with messaging. It's not always about getting new hunters to hunt, but it's about keeping people from hating hunters too.
Yeah.
Like it's educating non-hunters that hunters aren't bad, that hunting is okay. So there's two different goals there, and they're both great.
Yeah, that's really true. And they have been putting out, like, we get lots of emails, just for people who aren't on these emails, we get lots of emails from them about different events, different things. And every year they're saying, like, the way to get land, make sure you're asking permission, et cetera, et cetera. I think, like, yeah, if you find that you've moved somewhere, or even if you've lived in the area for a long time, but then there's just people walking in your woods with guns, that's going to be alarming if you don't know who they are and they didn't come introduce themselves to you. So it's just polite, courtesy to come and introduce yourself and ask permission if you're going to hunt on their land.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to the Sunday hunting argument. They say a lot of private landowners are threatened to post their land if we allow Sunday hunting. And do we really want to call their bluff on that? I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's something to consider for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big controversy of whether to bring that Sunday hunting. And it's kind of funny in the group. I don't know if you've asked the question or done a poll, or I've just seen people talk about it, but it's really mixed among the women hunters in that group of, like, whether they think there should be Sunday hunting or not. But yeah, what's your opinion on that?
I mean, it would be awesome if there was Sunday hunting. But it wouldn't be awesome if we piss off all the landowners. So it's kind of, but personally, I take Sunday. Sunday, you can go fishing or,
Yeah.
do something else.
Yeah, I think the non-hunters like to know that they have that one day during that season that, like, they can definitely go out and feel safer to, like, be out in the woods and stuff. And that's, like, their big argument for it. But I know once you start hunting and you have, like, limited time, especially people who have really crazy jobs and the weekend is really their only time they can get out, I can see that argument a lot more
I
now.
work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, so I'm one of them, but I try to prioritize my vacation time for November.
Yeah. And it actually is such a short season. Like, when you
Right.
think about it too, it's like, well, it's really only like this one month.
Like 4 Sundays we're asking
Yeah.
for,
Exactly. Yep. Well, tell me about fishing too. What's your favorite kind of fishing to do?
I mean, ocean fish, I feel like taste the best, way better than freshwater fish, but, freshwater fish are just, easier to catch, less gear required. They live in really beautiful places, brook trout, Maine's wild brook trout.
Are there any like,
Beautiful.
fishing so, like, it's easy and hard in one regard. Like, I feel like, of course, I've been fishing, and ocean fishing I find actually easier than freshwater because I feel like you just I don't know. I just have better luck with it. It's just you're dipping it in, you're getting something.
It's definitely easier, but you
Yeah.
have to have a boat. Like, if,
Yes. Yeah. But with the freshwater, I almost feel like I'm looking, could I learn more, like, really more skills to actually show me, like, the best lure to use for this and the best area to go. I feel like I'm actually, as much as I've gone out with that, I'm still, in some ways, I feel inexperienced and like I can't speak to it as much. Have you found any really great resources for that people could learn those things?
I mean, LL Bean teaches a great fly fishing course, and they have introductory, and I think they have more advanced as well. But really, it's just like coming up with this lure goes with this species, this fly goes with this species, and then just, you know, use the same one depending on what you're fishing for. Really study the stocking reports in your area. I find ice fishing is a great way. You don't need a boat, and you can catch some pretty big fish while ice
Yeah.
fishing.
If
And
you
you can
can,
try
yeah.
different things, in close to shore for brook trout, deep on bottom for brown trout, lake trout. So you can really see the difference while ice fishing on your strategy versus what you catch.
Yeah. Yeah, ice fishing is awesome as long as it's not, like, freezing cold.
Yeah. Well, you
That's
just
why
dress
we did
appropriate.
this.
You
What'd you
dress
say? You gonna dress?
appropriate. You
Yeah.
just
That's why I loved the smell fishing this past year with you, because I was like, oh my gosh, there's wood stoves in here. You can just be like cozy catching little
yeah, yeah.
fish.
And like ice fishing is one of those things too. Well, if you want to put a lot of money and get serious, you can have a pop-up ice shack
Yeah.
with a little buddy heater, propane heater in there. So you can be ready to go out in any weather,
Hmm.
if you're ready to invest in that hobby.
Yeah, definitely. When you started the group, how did you get involved? Like, I've seen you now, maybe this is just because like you've gotten more of your name out there and stuff, but you're involved in a lot of different organizations across the state, anything to do with like hunting, fishing. What was it? The clam festival, I think you were just
Yeah.
speaking at. Like, how did you are you putting yourself out there? People reaching out to you now? How did you get involved with so many aspects of this?
It's a good question. I think when I started the group, Maine has a long history of outdoors women. The first registered Maine guide was a woman. Carrie Stevens invented the gray ghost. She's from Rangeley. So, we've always had a lot of strong outdoors women in Maine, but maybe it wasn't as prominent as you didn't know about them. Um, so I could have just been the right place at the right time. I do put myself out there. I went to the Yarmouth Clam Festival and I was like, there's nothing about clams here. Like, it's a great festival, but like the only clam and stuff is you can buy clams and eat them. And I was like, wow, we could do a little education opportunity. Um, and then I joined the board of Sportsman Alliance of Maine. I feel like they really track what bills are going on in our state that have to do with wildlife. I think that's the most important thing for the future of hunting and fishing is staying on top of bills and laws and changes and playing defense against out of state folks. So I joined their board because I feel like that's the most important thing as an outdoorsman is
Mm.
protecting that tradition. So if you're not a member of SAM, you should become a member. It's like $30 a year, and we're working hard for you. Yeah, so I feel like the group just kind of brought all the outdoors women in Maine together, and then it was like, oh wow, there are like 7,000 of us. I'm not a weirdo for being a girl that likes to be outside. Look at all these other ones.
Hmm.
You may not see them as much in magazines or in advertising. So you kind of feel like you're an outlier. And I mean, we definitely are a minority, but we're growing, and that doesn't mean we're not good at it. And it's important to have other role models, I think.
Yeah. And in the group, everyone's so supportive. I think you've created really this amazing environment because I feel like people post stuff and you like are so responsive and you're always offering help and guidance and resources. And it's really amazing what you've created there. And then I see people post all the time about how they are in other either, like mixed gender Facebook hunting groups of Maine or more male dominated ones. And like it's not really that same environment. I'm not actually in any other ones, so I actually can't speak to that. But what kind of comments happen that don't happen in the Maine Women Hunters group?
I think, we're not a man hating group. I
No.
think, I'll just say that. I think a lot of men learned when they were 6 years old. They don't remember what it feels like to learn. And there could be some stereotyping about men that hunt are very macho. Now you're on the keyboard warriors. So perhaps the mixed groups bring out the worst of people. And, there's mostly great people, but you have the vocal few. So I know, and in our group, it's really wonderful that we don't have any of that. Someone will shoot a bobcat and some people don't like bobcat hunting. And in our group, they just scroll by.
Right.
What you should be doing on
Mm-hmm.
social media. If you don't like something, keep scrolling. I know people have posted about wounding a deer and they found it, 2 days later and it had been eaten by coyotes. I know they've posted that in other groups, and they've gotten a lot of criticism, like, oh, you shouldn't take a shot unless you're 110%, you need to practice more. You should have looked harder. Um, just really critical comments. And, we beat ourselves up. I'm sure that lady beat herself up over that, right?
Right.
And she's putting it on Facebook. She has closure. And our group was just so supportive of that, of her. That's just one example. Another one is like um, shooting small deer. I like to say the only rule in the Maine Women Hunters group is you're not allowed to start a post with, I know it's not the biggest, but I think that's really disrespectful for the animal. We can all see that it's not the biggest.
Hmm.
We're not judging you. You took the life of that animal, and, be proud, be respectful. So that's a pet peeve of mine. Own
Hmm.
it. We're happy for you. And I think in other groups, that person definitely they'll get more criticized by shooting a smaller deer.
Yeah. Yep. I've definitely seen people write about stuff like that.
We're not just a Facebook group.
Yes, I know. I was going
So
to ask you that
yeah, we started doing events, the Facebook group just snowballed, and we had
too.
to get together, and then it was like, come ice fishing. So some of our events are free. Ice fishing is free. Um, We have meetups that are free. We just canoed the St. Croix River. We canoed the Allagash. We do a lot of fishing events because it's hard to hunt in a group and be successful because it's hard to be
Yeah.
sneaky. But we do a lot of waterfowl, duck, sea duck, goose. We've got offshore fishing coming up, fishing on Sebago Lake coming up. I think we have 4 boats going out, striper fishing. And, you know, I think if you want to try one of those things, it's a lot cheaper to go with a group of like-minded women that are also not experts, and you just
Hmm.
pay your portion of the boat than to rent the entire boat out yourself and try to find your buddies to go with you. And then, so I think that's what's going on now. Lots of events.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's one of the best things I think is that, you put it out there and then people can sign up. And like you said, you go with these like-minded women and you get there and there's people from all different backgrounds and all different experience levels. And that's like the best way to learn too, is just from other people like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about moose hunting? Because I feel like that's something also a lot of people just don't necessarily know about the process, like how you even get a moose hunting permit, and it's a lottery and that whole thing. I think that you just seem like super knowledgeable about that. So I'd love to just give people more information about that.
Yeah, if you're a resident of Maine, you have a much higher chance of being drawn than a non-resident. So if you're a resident of Maine, I think it opens in February-ish, but you can enter the lottery. I think it's $20. You can do points only. So if you're like, you know what, I've used all my vacation time or whatever, I broke my leg and this is not a good year to go, you can enter and just do points only. Because if you forget to enter for 2 years, you lose all your points. So every year that you enter and don't get drawn, you're accumulating more and more points.
Mm.
You choose what zones you want. Um, you can also click, I'll take any zone. You can choose whether you want a bull or a cow. I think it's pretty unique. I don't know of any other place that lets you have a second shooter. So in Maine, if you're drawn, even for non-resident, you get to bring a second shooter with you.
Hmm.
So if I've shot 10 moose and I'm like, I don't really need to shoot another moose, but my friend Jill, she's never shot a moose, so I'll put her down as my second shooter, and then you could shoot the moose. You just have
Oh.
to stay together within like speaking, yelling distance. That way we don't actually accidentally shoot 2 moose.
Mhm.
So that's really unique for Maine. And, I think the great thing about Maine, I've been to Alaska twice. We're definitely not in Alaska or Montana. Like, it's not quite as big and wild and vast and dangerous. But we're much more approachable, affordable. The the regular folks can do it yourself moose hunt. You know, you can bring grandma with you, you can bring your kids with you. It's very attainable. And that's what I like about Maine. You know, we don't have mountain lions that are going to eat you or grizzly bears. Um, you know, you can fly into Portland in 30 minutes. You could be where you're hunting somewhere. You know,
Mhm.
probably not moose, but um, yeah, it's very approachable.
I guess I don't even understand. Like, if you, so say you do get in the moose lottery and you feel ready to do it, but we're going up north. And then, like, do I hire a guide too once I get up there? Because I'm going to some area I've never been. I have no idea where I'm going. Like, what do people do at that point?
You can definitely, if you're not familiar with the area, I would recommend hiring a guide. But you do that like the day after you get drawn,
Mm-hmm.
like real quick, because they'll book up. And they're doing the scouting for you, which is a big deal. They're doing the calling for you. They're helping get the moose out of the woods for you. You know, if you have a camp and you're familiar with an area, you know, our plan next time we're drawn, what we like to do is we like to take the week off before the moose hunt so we can scout ourselves, and really know what's going on in the area.
Mm-hmm.
As a guide is expensive, but you know, they'll provide lodging and wall tents. Like they provide everything. You just have
Wow.
to be really comfortable with your firearm. But
Okay.
definitely, if you've never been on a moose hunt, if you don't know the area you were drawn for, I would say most people hire a guide or they just drive around, and that's a much lower success rate than it used to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've heard that. Like people taking like the whole fall off from
Yeah.
work to try to go up and get a moose. Or yeah, that are they getting more and more rare, or is the population decline? But for moose in particular.
I think if you go on IFMW's website, they will say that the population is declining. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
also, you know, we don't do clear cuts like we used to, so you can't see as far. You know, moose learn that they're not as safe near the roads, you know, so you
Yeah.
really have to get back in the woods more these days than, you know, 20 years ago when people
Yeah.
just drove around and shot a moose.
Mm-hmm. I know, right? That's not happening.
Yeah.
I've lived in New England my whole life and I've seen a moose like twice.
Oh, you got to get up north. You got to go
I
to
gotta get up
Greenville.
north more. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So this is totally a little bit off topic, but I did want to talk to you about hiking the Appalachian Trail because I just think that's so amazing. And that was always a dream of mine. And now I might be like one of those like older people trying to do it when they're retired. But when did you do that? And what made you decide to do that?
I did that right out of college. I wasn't really ready to start a real job yet. So I figured I would do it. And yeah, it's mostly kids out of college and retired folks.
Yeah.
That's who does it. But I loved it. Looking back, like my favorite part of it in the moment was the worst part, and that's like the monotony of it.
Hmm.
Every day waking up, packing up, walking north, like, but looking back, it's so nice that, you know, you didn't have any of those worries or stressors. Life was very simple. You know, I wore the same shirt for 4.5 months. Like,
Wow.
it really makes you it puts things in perspective, makes you think about consumerism, and it really gives you a confidence, you know? I feel like, well, if I could do that, then like I can do anything. I can go sit in the woods and try to shoot a deer, you know?
Right. Yeah. And did you do it with friends or by yourself?
I did it by myself, but there's so many people who do it. I don't think I ever spent the night alone. I stayed at shelters. So there's lots of people who do it.
You
So
meet people, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I've read like all the books of people doing all the through hikes of that one and the what is it, Pacific Crest Trail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um yeah. So maybe
I'm sure it's a
someday.
lot different than when I did it. But
Yeah. Well, that's what kind of worries me now is now I hear these things like, oh, there's so much of it that's just like on main roads or like, I don't know, like not as like, remote as it used to be, but I'm sure there's still plenty of parts that are also still very remote.
The main part is the most remote. It's the best
Really?
part.
Maybe I'll
Yeah.
just have to do that.
Yeah. Do the 100-mile wilderness. Do the
Yeah.
100-mile wilderness.
Yeah. Yeah, I should do that. That'd be fun. So what are your future goals for yourself and also for the group and maybe just like all the efforts that you've been doing? Like, what are your future goals for this? Because it's kind of growing and building, and I think that you could go in many directions.
Yeah, I do feel like it's growing and building, and I've thought about becoming a nonprofit, but um, I feel like that's just more red tape. And for what we're an unofficial nonprofit. I'm
Hmm.
not making money off the group. I kind of like it being small. There's other groups out there who do national trips for women outdoorsy hunting, fishing. So I kind of like keeping it what it is. I think there's nothing wrong with that. We can try new events, but keeping it really accessible for people is my
Hmm.
goal. And it's nice to see, now all of my friends I've met through Maine Women Hunters, and it's nice to see ladies in the group now will do their own trips together. They'll
Hmm.
book our, Sebago Lake Captain on their own and do their own fishing days. So it's kind of dominoing into it's growing naturally that way.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. And tell me about your book.
Yeah. My book's called Always Game. It comes out December 2nd, but you can pre-order it now from Sherman's in Maine, Barnes& and Noble, Amazon. It's a memoir about growing up in down East Maine, raking blueberries, lobster fishing, and hunting and fishing, all my adventures. So
That's awesome. I
you'll
can't
have to
wait to
check
read
it
it.
out. Yeah.
I know. When Christi came out with this, I was like, how do you have time for this? Like, she works, she has a baby, she's hunting and fishing more than anybody I know, and she wrote a book.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of
Superwoman.
work. I didn't like doing it,
You
but
didn't like doing
now it's over. So, it's off the
it.
bucket list. Yes.
That's awesome. No, it's amazing. I'm so excited to read it. And I'm excited to go on more trips with Maine Women Hunters. And I'm just so grateful that you started this and have created this opportunity for people who are kind of starting from scratch and are looking to learn, because it was needed. It was so needed.
Yeah, definitely. With my new baby now, I can definitely see, like, my husband and I are taking turns doing a lot of things. So it would be hard if I was in the learning phase with kids at home,
Hmm.
so if this is just another opportunity, leave dad to watch the kids and
Hmm.
mom gets to come out on a Maine Women Hunters event. So
Yeah, exactly. Well, is there anything else that you really wanted to say or touch on or get out there? Message?
I feel like we covered it. Just, if you want to get into it, just go out and try one new thing a year. Don't take
Yep.
yourself too seriously.
Don't beat yourself up. We're all learning, and you learn more and more
Yep.
every time you get out there, right?
Yep.
So where can everyone find you, Christi?
I'm on Instagram at Christi Holmes. That's my main name.
It's
And Maine Women.
HOLMES.
Yep.
Yep.
Christ with an I. And then Maine Women Hunters on Instagram and Maine Women Hunters on Facebook.
Awesome. All right. And if you're in another state, check it out or start your own group
Yeah.
like this, because
We welcome ladies from other
Yep.
states. That's fine.
Yeah, especially other New England states, and sometimes they can get up here and do stuff. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.
If you enjoyed this conversation, please take a moment to leave a review. In that review, I would love to hear what topics you'd like to see covered next and which guests you'd love to hear from in future episodes. You can connect with me on Instagram at Original Being Podcast, and be sure to follow, like, and share the podcast on all platforms to help spread the word. Thanks for listening.